Welcome back to the French track of Dijon-Prenois for the second race of the Fanatec GT2 European Series. We will have, as this morning, 50 minutes race with a pit window compulsory for all the cars on track. And then we will see what's gonna happen this afternoon after the terrific race this morning. And in this first race this morning, we saw the victory of the car number 17, the KTM Crossbow GT2, from the team True Racing with Martin Koch and Renard Koffler. So they finished in first position ahead of the new Mercedes AMG GT2 after the first success in Austria 2 weeks ago. So the Ricci family, the father and the son, get another podium finishing this morning at the second place, and the third place was for the other KTM Crossbow GT2 from True Racing as well for Saline et Rossina. So we wait for this second race to see what's gonna happen on the track, on the French track, for the first time ever in the GT2 European Series. The championship made a stop here in Dijon-Prenois in the Burgundy region of France. And for sure, this track, the Dijon-Prenois circuit, it's a well-known track for the French people for sure, and for the Formula One fan, as I already said this morning. This track held for 5 editions the Formula One GP Grand Prix, 3 times for the French GP and 2 times for the Switzerland GP. So we all remember what happened during the Formula One GP in 1979, sorry, with this terrific fight in between Gilles Villeneuve and René Arnoux. Anyway, we are now on the starting grid. You can see that the mechanics made the last checkup of the car. The leading car here, the KTM Crossbow. And during and for this second race, sorry. So we will have on the starting grid, on the pole position, the number 18 cars, the LP Racing Audi R8 LMS GT2 from Michael Doppelmayr et Pierre Kieffer will be on pole position. Second position for the car number 17. The car 17 is the winning car of the race 1, the KTM Crossbow GT2, and the pair driver will be Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler. On the second row of the grid, we will have the car number 15, so it's another KTM Crossbow car, and it will be at the beginning of the race. The driver will be Stéphane Rossina. And alongside Stéphane Rossina, we will see the number 1 car, the poor car in the first race. We was forced to retire in the early laps of the race, maybe 2 or 3 laps after the start of the race. Stiennes Longin will be behind the steering wheel for the Audi number 1, the Audi from the PK Caspor team, and he will be alongside this teammate Peter Geddings, who was really unlucky this morning. As you can see, just a few seconds ago, Anthony Beltoise will be in the car number 67 in the row 3. It will be the teammate of Henri Acide, and they were also unlucky this morning, Anthony Beltoise and Henri Acide. They were forced to retire after an issue. And beside Anthony Beltoise, we will have the car number 10, the Porsche GT2 RS CS. Christopher Breuer and Marco Holder will share this car, and it's Marco who will take the start in a few minutes. Fourth row for car number 88, the Audi R8 LMS GT2 from LP Racing Team with Stefan Rattel and Mattia Di Giusto. Mattia Di Giusto will be the starting driver of this Audi. Alongside Mattia, we will have Benjamin Ricci on board the Mercedes number 61, the Acodis ASP Team Mercedes AMG GT2. I remind you that this Mercedes made his debut 2 weeks ago in Austria and won the first race in which it enters. So it's good news, and this morning the Mercedes clinched the second spot of the podium, and I'm looking at the grid and everyone is supposed to clear the track now, so we are close from the sighting laps. And so I was on row 4 with this Mercedes, and in the 5th row we will have the other Porsche, the 911 with Leonardo Gorini, and alongside the Porsche we will have the other one, the number 5 Porsche from AB Motors team with Montas Janavicius. So this is the formation lap, and all the 13th car will be trying to warm up the tires as much as possible to get the maximum stick from the tires. And we will see what's gonna happen for this second race. We will see if we will have the same fight as this morning. It was quite interesting, and we will see if KTM will be the next winner here in Dijon. So regarding the results of the race run during the pit stop window, some additional time called compensation time will be added to the pit stop. The minimum time of the pit stop it's 114 seconds, and for the AM class car number 911 will have to add 14 seconds to its pit stop. Car number 89 will have to add 10 seconds, and then the Porsche number 5 will have to add 5 seconds to its pit stop. We are still behind the leading car. We are close from the last corner, the Poix corner, and then it will be the start of the race 2. Look at the leading car. The leading car will enter in the pit lane, and then we will have the Audi and the KTM alongside each other, fighting for the first position in the first corner. So for sure it's totally forbidden to overtake before the light will be green and before the leading car will be crossing the finish line. Here it is. You can see that the Audi is increasing the rhythm, and yes, it is start. And look at the KTM already trying to find a way to pass over the Audi, but the Audi closed the door and still remain on the leading position. Pierre Keffer still leading with a perfect line compared to the KTM, and just behind the KTM we have another one. The yellow one is Tienes Longin on board the Audi, who take the third position. I guess the second KTM, the number 15, lost 2 positions, I guess, on this aerial shot. We just have a look to the tracking system, but it's not working actually. We need to have 1 lap down to get the tracking position system on. But I guess, yes, the number 15 lost 2 positions for the start. Yes, the Audi number 1 is now in 3rd position, and I guess the Porsche is now in 4th position. That means that the yes, it's confirmed on the timing. Yes, number 14 is 5th on the standing, and number 15, it's quite far away from the leading group, but Pierre Keffer was supposed to cross the finish line in 1st position, but was already overtaken at the end of the straight. Return in 2nd position, and for sure it's actually Reinhard Koffer leading with KTM. Yes, number 17 is leading now, clearly. And we have chasing this leading KTM 2 Audis, number 18 Pierre Keffer, and number 1 Tienes Longin, who was unlucky this morning. I remind you that he lost his rear left wheel after 3 or 4 laps in the beginning of the race, and he was forced for sure to retire. And for sure this afternoon he wants to finish on the podium for sure, and get the bad luck out of his Audi for sure. Oh, there is a inside line for the crossbow KTM on the 4th position. I guess, yes, Stéphane Rosina take the advantage on Marco Holzer on the Porsche number 10. And now KTM is back on 4th position. KTM was starting on the 2nd row at the 3rd position, lost 2 positions on the 1st lap, and now Stéphane Rosina is trying to close the gap with the leading cars. The gap actually is around 3.5 seconds on the 1st car with number 17. And clearly the 15th seems to be much more quicker than the Porsche. Look at the gap created, already created by Stéphane Rosina on board the KTM number 15. And now Stéphane is trying to close the gap on the car number 1, the Audi number 1, with Stéphane Tienes Longin, sorry, inside. Ooh, mind the track limit. Don't forget to respect the track limit. So regarding the lap time, the current lap time, the best one was in the last lap for Tienes Longin. Tienes Longin, 1 minute 19 seconds point 3. Was the fastest driver on track, and Stéphane Rosina actually in this lap set the fastest first split of the race, 21.4, and he's one of the fastest driver on the track actually. Pierre Keffer, number 18 cars, It's actually the fastest one. Is this in this last lap? Look at the Mercedes from Benjamin Ricci, who is now pushing hard to come back in the front of the race with his Mercedes. Mercedes is now standing in the 6th position. The number 61 car, the blue one. You can see at the end here it is, and is closing the gap on the Porsche. And I guess Benjamin will be able to maybe attack the Porsche before the end of this lap, or maybe in the slipstream during the main straight in front of the pit lane. We saw this morning that Mercedes was not so fast in this parts of the track, in the Poix corner, but after, during the straight, the Mercedes was able to close the gap. It was quite surprising, but the Mercedes seems to be really fast in the straight, and we will see not on this lap, but maybe on the next one. And I look at the timetable, and Stefan Rosina set the fastest time on actually on for the beginning of this race, 1 minute 19 seconds, 0.1. It's almost 0.2 of a second faster than the second fastest lap time. And yes, we are now focusing on the Mercedes. Will Benjamin Ricci able to overtake the Porsche number 10? The gap seems to be the same as the previous lap. And behind we have a close fight between another Porsche with the Audi number. Oh, the number the Audi was running wild. Number 88. I guess he was a little bit optimist in the braking area, and the number 88 was forced to run wild, but he managed to keep his position. We'll see what will be the interpretation of this action by the race direction. But the number 88, it's Leonardo Gorini on board. It seems to be really optimistic in this situation anyway. Yes, he was totally outside the track limit, but take advantage of this overtake, because he was on the inside line on the next corner, the parabolic corner, so he was able to keep his position in 7th place. And it seems quite tricky this afternoon for the Porsche 911. It was a little bit faster this morning. Maybe they made some changes on the setting, maybe the tire pressure. We have to remind that the air temperature is really hot this afternoon here in Dijon, and this maybe could have something to do with the global performance of the Porsche 911. It seems a little bit slower than this morning. Anyway, we are just in the beginning of the race. 10 minutes. We have spent 10 minutes on track, actually. And maybe by the end of the race and after the pit window, we will see another race regarding the leading group. Tony Beltoise on Audi number 67 seems to struggling a little bit to take the advantage on the Porsche. Maybe on this lap, yes, he's trying on the inside on the parabolic. Now he's putting pressure on the Leonardo Gorini shoulder. Oh, look at this small mistake for Leonardo Gorini, who was almost running wild on the track, but still remain in front of the Audi number 6. 27, sorry. Now Anthony Beltoise tried to catch the slipstream of the Porsche in the straight. Yes, he's flashing the Porsche, but it doesn't work anyway for Anthony Beltoise. And we can see again, yeah, Leonardo Gorini a little bit wild. You know, he was on the curb with the right side of his car, and he was almost losing his car on the curb, but was able to manage and rejoin the course, the layout of the course of Dijon-Prenois circuit. We are back in fourth position with KTM crossbow. Stefan Rosina is trying to close the gap on Tienens Longin, #1 car. It seems that when the car keeps his wheel on, it seems a little bit better for everyone, and for sure this Audi is quite fast, for sure. So in the leading group, we still have the KTM crossbow #17. The gap between the KTM and the Audi is actually 7/10 of a second, it's quite close. It seems that Pierre Keffer is following the KTM with not big problem. Saying it's easy to drive, but it seems that the driver of the Audi managed maybe the ties for his teammate, because for the start of this second race we have the pro driver inside the car for the beginning of the race, and then we will have the AM driver after the pit stop window. So it's really important to get a car well balanced and to get as much as possible the tires performance upgrade. But mainly the Audi #18 is in contact with the KTM crossbow #17, but he's not trying to push anymore. Pierre Keffer saves the gap and manage the gap. A little bit far behind, we can see that the other Audi, the #1, is almost 2 seconds, 0.3 behind these two front cars. And Tienens Longin get what's happened for the KTM? Suddenly the gap is reduced to nothing between the two front cars. I guess Renard Kofer made a small mistake. We didn't see it, but it's quite surprising that so quickly the gap was reduced to nothing. Maybe we can have a look. Maybe on the replay we don't see it actually, but I can imagine there was a small mistake maybe from Renard Koffler, and Pierre Keffer was not asking so much, and now is he trying to take the advantage on the leading KTM? Not really. Got an information coming from the race direction regarding the incident between the car #1 and the car 15 on the first lap in turn 3, and this incident is noted. We will see what's gonna happen in the next few minutes, if the race direction will take a decision or not. Clearly there is a problem in these parts of the track, mainly in the parabolic corner for the KTM. The KTM seems to be slower than usual in these parts, and that's why Pierre Keffer is so close from the leading car. After, when we go through Pua corner. It seems that KTM seems to be okay, and then keep his top speed in the main street. Yes, we can see it clearly now, and VOD is not able to take the slipstream from the KTM to try to overtake at the end of this straight. But mainly there is a small problem, or try to understand and to check to see if everything is is running well on the KTM. I think so. But look, in this corner, it seems that KTM is struggling a little bit. The car is running a little bit wide, and look at the acceleration of the parabolic. The OD is really close, and yes, Reinhard Klopfer is forced to close the door on the next corner, of the left corner, just before the downhill to Pua corner. And look, this time the VOD is really close from the KTM, and maybe we'll be able to get the slipstream from the leading car. This time, for sure, it's yes, it's on, and no. I don't think Pierre Kiefer will try to overtake. No. It's a little bit too far for the Audi car, and mainly the KTM is still leading, but it was not the same race as a few minutes ago for the KTM driver, who is now forced to have a look in his mirror to control VOD number 18. He goes inside and he overtakes the KTM for Pierre Kiefer. He's running wild at the exit, but he's able to manage. The inside line, so he will be in front. Yes, he's in front with Audi. So we have a change of the leading car. Look at this overtake. Yes, he dived in the inside. Was a little bit wild at the exit, but managed to keep his line and his acceleration. And then Pierre Kiefer takes the lead of this race 2 of the Fanatec GT2 European Series here in Dijon. And now we'll see if Reinhard Kiefer is able to regain his first position before the pit stop window will be open. Pay attention, because the leading cars are now closing the gap with the first back markers, and I hope we will have a blue flag on the track, on the side of the track, to inform this back marker that the leading cars are coming. Clearly, Pierre is really fast and faster than the KTM in this section. I mean, the enter and the exit of the parabolic. Yeah, fairly the back markers leave the line for the leading car, but was not able to leave the correct line for the KTM, and Reinhard Kiefer seems to have lost some precious tenths of a second. Yes, and now the gap is over 1 second on the finish line. 1 second and 75 tenths of a second in between the two leading cars. On the third position, we still have the other Audi, the number 1 Audi, Stiennes Longin, who is now overtaking the back marker. And then in fourth position, Stefan Rossina with the other KTM is in fourth position, and Yes, we have the pit window open right now for 9 minutes remaining. So we will see what will be the strategy for the leading car and for the contenders. We will see what's going to happen if Pierre Keffer will be the first one to enter in the pit lane, or will he try to increase the gap before rejoining the pit lane. And do Reinhard Keffer will be able to stay on track. Yes, for this lap he will stay on track for sure. I guess because as I already explained that the pro driver are in the car actually, I guess they will try to make the maximum number of laps before the pit window closed, and then keep their teammate for the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes maybe. Yes, 20 minutes almost for the remaining time in this race too. So we have the Porsche who is now entering in the pit lane, the Porsche number 911. It seems to be a little bit more tricky for this afternoon, for this race. And the KTM is now on the pit lane. Which number is it? It's the number 16. Number 16 KTM from Sedi Sarmini. Look at the mechanics who try to fix the tire pressure after this first stint with the heat today on the Dijon-Prenois track. It's almost compulsory to fix a new tire pressure during this pit stop, during this refueling for the Porsche number 911. So the Porsche and the KTM are actually the only two cars to make their pit stop. The Porsche is, we can see on this aerial view, it's almost already ready to leave the pit lane. I remind you that this Porsche 911 had a 14-second stop to add in this pit stop strategy due to the result in race 1. And then, oh, it's quite close. They were close to have a touch between the KTM and the Porsche, but the KTM leave the pit lane in front of the Porsche, the KTM number 16. And I guess the leading car are coming just behind these two cars. Yes, it is. And the Porsche tried to overtake KTM. Porsche is inside. Oh, wait. Don't be too aggressive in this first lap out of this outside lap. Sorry. And we have the replay of this action. It's quite tricky. It was not so close in a way. On this aerial view, we saw that the car was closer than it was. But anyway, that's racing, even in the pit lane. And the Porsche finally take take the advantage. Maybe in the inside line in Poix corner, but beware because the leading cars are coming inside, and Pierre Keffer is trying to find the way through these two cars fighting each other. I guess he succeeds. Yes, for the first one for the KTM, but not for the Porsche 911. And the leading cars is now forced to reduce his speed regarding the car leaving the pit lane. It's number 89, sorry. I guess Jan Krabek, the leading driver of the AM class, who exit the pit lane in front of the leading car. It's quite strange, but that's the way it is actually on track. And I guess Pierre Keffer could be a little bit upset about this situation. Now he's flashing the Porsche 911, and the Porsche 911 doesn't pay attention to the flashing. I'm doing my race, mate. Do your own. Mainly, that's I guess what Leonardo Gorini is thinking actually. But the leading car alongside the Porsche 911. It's quite strange that there is no blue flag for this situation, but mainly, yeah, Pierre Keffer is now managing this problem and taking the advantage on the Porsche 911. And a little bit far behind. It's the same situation for Renald Koffler. Renald Koffler is struggling now in the traffic, just behind the other KTM number 89 and the Porsche 911. And the KTM seems to be quite aggressive with it was almost close to touch. And we have also a KTM stop in the pit lane. It's number 15, so don't worry about the smoke. It's the smoke is coming from the brakes. No problem at all on this pit stop. And now we have to take a look to and take in consideration the pit window, because 2 minutes remain. And look at the KTM number 17. The KTM number 17, Renald Koffler, is entering in the pit lane, and Pierre Keffer was. He's still on the track, so Pierre Keffer will have to stop for sure in the next lap before the pit window will be closed. So normally it will be for the number 17, Martin Koch. Voilà. Martin Koch is now inside the car. So regarding the extra time, the compensation time on the pit stop strategy, the number 17 had 10 more seconds on his pit stop. So it's quite enough for the mechanics to fix the tire pressure. As you can see, we're still working on the belt of the driver for one mechanics. So everything is under control now, and we have to wait for the end of the total time of this pit stop for the number 17 car, the True Racing car. Number 17 was supposed to make 124 pit stop. And I guess this is the Audi. Yes, the Audi enter. Now Pierre Keffer is in the pit lane. The leading car is in the pit lane. The number 18. So no extra time added to the pit stop for the leading car. So I guess we could have the same position when the Audi will be back on track. Now the KTM Crossbow is leaving the pit lane. And we will see what happened on the Audi number 18. Audi number 1 rejoined the race now after its pit stop. No extra time added, no compensation time added for the Audi number 1 for sure, because the number 1 was not understanding in the race 1, forced to retire in the early laps of the race. And Now with number 18, it will be Michael Doppelmayr who will be finishing the race for this number 18 car from LP Racing Team. So I remind you that the compulsory pit stop time is 114 seconds. So that will be the time for this Audi. And here it is. The car is back on track. Oh, wait for this exit of the pit lane. And once again, we have the same problem in this pit lane. The two Audi. The first one in front of the number 18 is number 88. So it seems to be the number 88. I'm not sure, but we will see, we will check. Anyway, that's not the main problem actually. The main problem is to see where will be the standing position of the Audi number 18 when the driver will be completed his first outside lap compared to the KTM number 17. The 17 is just behind. We need to get an extra view from. Yes, the 17 is just behind the number 18, so I guess it will be the fight for the leading position between these two cars. Pierre Keffer, in fact, is the only rider in this Audi. It seems that Pierre Keffer will be, yes, the only driver, sorry, in this Audi. But now he have to warm up again his tires, and then for the leading position, I guess it's the number 17. Actually, we have the number 1 in front of the pack, but I'm not sure the number 1 Audi is leading the race. We will have to see if it's real or not, or if the number 1 already complete his outing lap. It's quite surprising for me. We will see. Minutes remaining in this race 2 of the Fanatec GT2 European Series. And actually, the provisional standing, it seems that the number 1 with Peter Gelling inside is leading the car in front of the number 88. With Stefan Rattel, who is the CEO of the SRO organization, in second position, and Martin Koch is now third with a KTM number 17. On board the Mercedes AMG GT2 is now in 4th position, 5th position for Nicolas Salens, 6th position for Christopher Breur, and Henri Acid is now in 7th position in the standing, and 15 minutes left in this second race. We have to take in consideration that the pit stop was quite long for the number 17 cars from the true racing cars. KTM had a 10 seconds compensation time added to his pit stop. So that's the reason why maybe the number 17 lost the front of the race, but it's quite surprising that DOD was not able to rejoin in the leading group. Anyway, now it's another Audi, and the Audi leading. It's the number 1 leading. The number 1 with Peter Gellings inside. It's quite fair, we can say, due to the fact that the number 1 was forced to retire in the early laps of the first race this morning. So in a way, it's a quite balanced situation for the number 1. And look at the Mercedes from Mauro Ricci, who is now close enough to manage to overtake, I guess, the number 88 car. Yes, Stefan Rattel is now losing 1 position, and maybe Nicolas Salins will be in the same situation. Yes, Stefan Rattel, yes, lost 3 positions in this lap. And number 61, the Mercedes 61, is warning about the track limits at turn 5. It's the parabolic corner. I guess it's one of the last warning from the race direction for this Mercedes. It's quite close for the number 10 Porsche, Christophe Bauer, who is now in 4th position, and Mauro Ricci is now standing in 3rd position. Martin Koch on number 17. Yes, that's for me the normal way of the standing. Yes, the KTM number 17 is back in 2nd position. For me, that's a normal situation. But actually, the leading car is VOD, but not the one we are thinking of. It's the number 1 from Peter with Peter Gellings on board, and Peter Gellings get a very big gap from the other one. 6 second, 0.8 gap for Peter Gellings on the 2nd car with Martin Koch on board the KTM number 17. So the fight for the last spot of the podium is on his way, and the Mercedes against the Porsche. Will Mauro Ricci will be able to keep the Porsche behind him? We thought that in the straight the slipstream was an advantage for the Porsche, and Christophe Breuer was almost ready to overtake at the inside the Mercedes, but Mauro Ricci closed the door. What's happened on the track? A little bit far behind. Number 89 take the position from the Porsche 911. So yes, the KTM 89 is now in 9th position. Here it is. It seems that it's a little bit difficult for Leonardo Gorini, clearly, in this 2nd race. The Porsche is not as fast as it was this morning, for sure. And we are now facing the last 10 minutes of this 2nd race in the Fanatec GT2 European Series. And the leading car is still the Audi number 1, but the gap is now reducing, and the gap is smaller. It was over 6 seconds, 0.8 a few minutes ago, and now it's a good unsafe release, 16 noted anyway. Yes, we saw that in the pit lane that race directions consider that the restart of the car number 16 was not made in the correct way. So maybe we can add some penalty by the end of the race. We will see what will be the decision of the race direction. Anyway, we were talking about the gap between the two leading cars, and the gap is almost fixed around 6 seconds. It was 5.8 in the last lap, and actually in the current lap is 5.9. So mainly the same situation between Peter Gellings on board the Audi number 1 and Martin Koch on board the KTM number 17. 8 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in this second race. Will Martin Koch be able to close the gap on Peter Gellings and try to get the victory for the KTM number 17? That's the question. And Martin Koch still have 8 minutes and 20 seconds to answer this question. And the third position, Christophe Breuer on board the Porsche number 10. He's quite far now. He's almost 13 seconds and 0.3 behind the leader, and 7 seconds 0.5 behind the KTM number 17. No. It will be not for this time. For number 67, Henri Acid is trying to overtake Nicolas Salins, number 15 cars, the KTM 15s, number 15, but Henri Acid failed to overtake the KTM. Will he be able to take the slipstream in the main straight? Not really, but Henri seems to be faster in the last section of the Dijon-Prenois track. We will see. He will be able to, if he will be able to close the gap in this lap to make maybe a pass over the KTM number 15. Oh, what's happening on the track now? Sorry, I didn't see the car number, and it's a Porsche for sure, and the fight is between the car number 5 and the Porsche number 5 from Aurelius Rusteka, and just behind him really close to the Porsche, we have the Lamborghini with Georges Caban on board. Lamborghini came here in Dijon for the first time this season with the CMR team. And surely, slowly but surely, we will be in the last 5 minutes in few seconds. And it seems that the Audi number 1 is on his way to a successful second race here in Dijon. The gap is still quite big, we can say. Almost 5 seconds between Peter Gellings and Martin Koch. So it seems that Peter Gellings could easily manage a gap advantage of 1 second for each lap remaining. And Christophe Breuer will be for sure on the podium, on the last step of the podium. What happened on the race? Oh, Henri Acid is trying to overtake on the inside at the exit of the parabolic. And for the braking area, the next braking area, yes, he's coming alongside. Small contact between the Audi and the KTM, but Henri Acid take the position and now is on 4th position. strong finish for Henri Acid. What is the gap between Christophe Breuer and Henri Acid? It's a 3 second point 8 gap between Henri Acid on board the Audi and Christophe Breuer on board the Porsche. Will Henri be able to close this gap on the last 4 minutes of the race? That's the deal for Henri, and maybe join the podium. It could be a happy end for the team and the car number 67, the LP Racing team. Anthony Beltoise is the teammate of Henri Acid. Anthony Beltoise was not so fast in the first part of the race, but the team managed a good pit stop strategy, and Henri Acid was able to overtake a few contenders. He's not so far from the Porsche in front of him, I guess. He did the Porsche. We saw. Oh, and there is a problem for the Mercedes. The Mercedes run wide and spin out. It's quite a problem for Mauro Ricci, who was in 7th position. What happened to Mauro Ricci? We saw some parts on the gravel bends. Or maybe it's only when Mauro Ricci entered in the gravels. Yes, the rear end of the Mercedes seems to get some damage, small damage, I guess. We can have. Yes, we saw a light smoke coming from the rear of the car, and we saw. I don't know if there was a contact between. Yes, there was a contact between the Porsche 911 and the Mercedes 61, and we have to be focused on the rear end of the Mercedes, because we have a light smoke coming from the rear of the car. So maybe some parts are touching the tires. So we have to be careful about this situation for Mauro Ricci. Hope he will be able to finish the race without any more problem. And we are back now. We're just looking to the data for Henri Acid. The gap for the third position, it's too big now, with 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining. This is the leading car, the yellow Audi, number 1 Audi, on his way to the first step of the podium. Peter Gellings, with his teammate Stiennes Longin, will be, we hope, will be the winner of this race 2 in 60 seconds, almost 60 seconds. We're still waiting for 1 more second. Yes, it is the last minute of this race 2 of the Fanatec GT2 European Series is on his way, and Peter Gellings need to close 1 more lap. Here it is, last lap. The information coming from the official timing and from the race direction. This is the final lap for Peter Gellings, who will be able to finish the race. Yes, we saw in a small window that on the pit wall, Stiennes Longin is crossing his finger. Yes, for sure, after the dramatic race 1, the unlucky race 1, when Peter Gellings lost his rear wheels, and now they are on their way to the victory. Peter Gellings need to finish this lap. He's now in the last corner of the track, Poix corner. He will, mind the limit, Peter Gellings. it was quite difficult to stand on the correct line for Peter. He almost drive on the curb, and here it is. Peter Gellings is now crossing the finish line and is the winner of the race 2 with Stiennes Longin, who is his teammate, and so they win, and that's racing. In fact, they were unlucky this morning, and this afternoon they are on the top of the podium. That's a good way to end this weekend for the Fanatec GT2 European Series Audi #1. In second position, we will have Martin Koch with KTM True Racing car with Reinhard Koffer second. And the third position is for the Porsche #10. Christophe Bauer is ending the race, and alongside his teammate Marco Holzer. So this is the final standing of this race 2. See that Stiennes Longin is really happy, really delighted about this situation for sure. And we find Henri Acid with Audi #67 in fourth position. Nicolas Salins with the KTM #15 is fifth. Jan Krabek, first driver of the AM class, is in sixth position, just in front of the other AM driver Leonardo Gorini on board the Porsche 911. Stefan Rattel ending the race in 8th position. Mauro Ricci, after his spun on board the Mercedes 61, is 9th, and Klaus Engerhofer finished the race in 10th position. Yeah, Peter Gellings really delighted about this. and for sure, Stiennes Longin congratulates its teammate, and this a happy ending for the Piquet Car Sport team. Good ending situation for this Belgium team. And we have now the KTM Crossbow #17 on second position. Martin Koch seems to be delighted as well with this result. Yeah! Martin Koch really happy about this result. And we have to remind that the #17 had to add 10 more seconds with a compensation time in the pit stop. So it's really a strong result and strong performance from Martin Koch and all the KTM team, the True Racing team. So in a few minutes we will have the podium ceremony.
Super, echt waar, topmaker.
The Belgian pair is really delighted, and we can understand their satisfaction for sure. And we will have a look to the highlights of the second race in a few seconds. We'll see what happened. If you miss something, it's time to remind what happened during this race. that was the race 2 in Dijon-Prenois circuit here for the third round of the Fanatec GT2 European Series, and we will have the standing and the result. Yes, we can see that the number 1 is winning this race 2 in front of the KTM number 17, and the number 10 is taking the last step of the podium. Audi, KTM and Porsche mixed brand on the podium. That's a perfect result for the Fanatec GT2 European Series. And we will end this program in a few seconds. So next round will be in Barcelona. Bye bye, see you later.